Good evening, all of you, uh, and good morning, Hari. I'm very happy to be here with three wonderful faculty I have known in my life, Dr. Muralidharan, Dr. Hariharan, and Bhas Bhamre. And we are going to take this session in some kind of a Q&A format. So what we thought is we can have it this way, that I'll ask some directed questions to the faculty members initially, and then they'll give their thoughts on that, and then we can open the forum for Q&A for the parents. And in case in between you are getting any thoughts, any questions, you may note it down so that you can ask it when the forum opens. And if it's possible to see everybody, nothing like it. So if it's possible, just switch on your video. All right. So I'll start the question with Hari. So Hari, while you were in Mumbai before you left for the US, you had a long teaching experience, especially for CA aspirants, for MBA aspirants, and even school students. So can you tell us something that you have seen in your experience in teaching them, that what kind of qualities do you see in the best of students, and which many others may have lacked? And I'm especially asking you this question because you have seen these students after they have grown up. So what kind of qualities continue to stay with them after they have grown up? So if you can share something on this, that will be great. Yeah.
Uh, so I started teaching students pursuing chartered accountancy immediately after I completed my CA in 2008. So one of the determinants of me getting into teaching was my attitude towards learning. And that was when I was a CA student. There was some result that was being discussed, and I was very much keen on understanding that concept in depth. Whereas when I saw my friends, they were not that much interested in knowing the things in depth. So that's when I thought that, okay, there is something wrong in terms of motivating students to learn. And that was one of the main determinants for me to start teaching. And unfortunately, by the time when I started teaching, the school marks started becoming a poorer signal of students' quality. That is very unfortunate, because the moment we look at school grades or marks, it used to be an indicator of, okay, this student has certain ability and we can challenge this student with a difficult things in terms of teaching. But over the period of time, it has been a very poor signal, and that's becoming a very difficult problem, because it's harder to differentiate between good students and the students who are relatively weak, so to say. And the reason for that is we need to bifurcate them so that we can enrich them with different type of education, and that did not happen. So the challenge that we faced at that time was there were students who were brilliant in terms of the marks that they had obtained, but you couldn't tell whether this person is actually a 90% student, or the student has scored 90%. So we used to, when we teachers used to discuss, we would say that, have you noticed that particular student? That student is really a 90% caliber student. So that so then we started looking at other qualities from which we can understand what determines success for the students. And in CA, an important quality that a student needs to have is perseverance, because the results are so hard, or the passing percentage is so low, that there is no way but perseverance is the only way by which you can sustain. The second thing is the syllabus is so vast, so you cannot get mastery on all the subjects. So how do you navigate through the process of dealing with subjects that you are not interested in? And I think that's a very, very important quality for the students to have. Especially I have seen a lot of students who are interested in only one area and then they ignore the other subjects. And I have been guilty of doing that when I was in school. I loved algebra so much that I did not study geography, for example, and that affected my performance in schools. So I mean, I am an outlier, so to say, in this group of students, but on the wrong side, I am an outlier, because when I grew up, I scored what 55% in my eighth grade and so on. But that's a different story altogether. But what is these characteristics, that is perseverance, having a determination, having a grit to just learn things even when you don't understand them, or even when things are not going your way. I think it's a very, very, very important characteristic for a student, because a lot of times what happens is, especially with the brilliant kids, that they have found the school curriculum to be so easy that if we do not challenge them, then they lose that perseverance, and suddenly a time comes when the subjects are getting harder and they don't know how to navigate through this process. So you need good work ethic. I think work ethic cannot be undermined at all. And the last thing is needing to do things even if you don't like doing it. Like, even if I say that, okay, I'm going to only do research, I will only work on the questions that I am interested in, but at the end of the day, I still have to format my paper, I still have to include the references, I still have to make sure that there are no errors in the paper that I'm writing. And that takes a substantial amount of time of your daily routine. So you cannot just say that, okay, I'm only going to do research, I will come up with the research question, and I will not do the grunt work that is required to be done. And that's an important message that we need to give to the students. So to summarize, the perseverance, the determination, and your ability to navigate through the subjects that you don't like, and being ready to do some of the boring stuff which you otherwise wouldn't want to do.
Thank you so much, Hari, for sharing this wide and deep perspective. Um, my next question is to Dr. Muralidharan, who has been a little different from Hari right from his school days. So, Murli sir, you have been a very bright student from school days. So, and you all have, I mean, you have seen a lot of bright students in your career as well. You would have taught, you would have worked with some bright minds. Have you also seen students whose learning curve has gone down? I mean, they were quite promising at some particular point of time, but after a point of time, you feel that their learning curve has gone down. So if that is the case, then what do you think? Or, what do you think irrespective of that, that we need to ensure that the bright and gifted students don't decline in their ability? So what are your thoughts on this?
Uh, so actually, it's a good question to ask now, because the condition in which the Indian education system is being laid out. At least in my days, I could find a few teachers with whom I can discuss a mathematics problem, because from the beginning I was known that I was good in maths. So I also always used to hang around with math teachers. So in fact, they're also encouraging, and then in a way, and then because they also learned that how to nurture a gifted child and so on. I would say I'm a gifted child. I'm slightly on the outlier side on the other end. The main thing which students of good ability go down the drain is that the lack of nurturing, that is the lack of a mentorship. I'm glad that Raising a Mathematics Foundation is at least doing that now in India. And if you look at the other countries, for instance, in Russia, in the case in the 19, even starting with 1950s, they have been doing these mathematical circuits where top prominent mathematicians like Kolmogorov, Yaglum, and others would teach students on Saturdays evening, 2 to 5 p.m. or something like that. It was a very open-ended session. And then these are being professional mathematicians, they knew what mathematics is all about. and how to nurture the thinking ability in a way that it is non-exam oriented. And of course, that how to really develop the problem solving skills. So that's the kind of nurturing which they really have to know. And I have seen several students who are very promising. In fact, about 6 years back, when I was teaching a national Olympiad course, one girl was extremely promising, meaning she asked the right questions, because in mathematics or even, you know, that in any subject, asking the right questions is really the key. And that is really the talent, not answering the questions at all. So she was asking the really the brilliant questions. And then at the end of the session, I called her and then said that you really are good, and then you should really go take to mathematics as a career. And then there are opportunities like that. And if you want, I can connect you with mathematicians with CMI and so on. And the next day, her father came, and then he said that I wanted to be an engineer, and I wanted to take JE and so on, which was really pathetic, right? She would have really done very well as a mathematician, but I don't know where she is right now. But the thing is, this is the kind of pressure which the parents put on not meaning not allowing the children to blossom in a field where they really love. Okay, the main thing which we have to ensure that either through formal mechanisms like RAM, or like informal things like the mathematical circles organized locally once in a week or once in 2 weeks and so on, where the students come and then do some exploration. It is not that they will learn something and so on, they will at least learn what really mathematics is about. In fact, there is a very big circle, the Bay Area Math Circle in the California, and I have one of my friends is part of that. And then he says that he finds a lot of really bright kids, and then for some sessions the parents are also allowed to sit, and there will be standing room, the whole thing in the whole class. So that's the kind of encouragement the parents also give, and then the students are extremely fortunate to have the opportunity to attend that kind of programs. So if you really mentor them very well, and then it's really none of these good students will go the other way. So that's basically the thing. We need really good mentorship, and mentorship in the right person, in the right direction. So that's really the key in this.
Thank you so much, Murli sir. In fact, when you said about lack of nurturing in India as compared to Russia, I was reminded of the European Girls Mathematics Olympiad results for this year. For those of you who don't know, one girl from India was a silver medalist in the European Girls Math Olympiad, and she got a silver medal because she scored 14 and above out of 42. So she got exactly 14, and then she got the silver medal. Which is a great achievement. But when you look at the toppers, the top three are Russians with perfect scores 42, 42, 42, and the fourth place is 41 by another Russian. So there is a long way for us to go, and I am sure these opportunities like what they have in Russia, like math circles, these kind of things are it's kind of a need of an hour. So I was just reminded of that. And when you said about asking the right question, I was reminded of yesterday's session when Hari also said the same point in another discussion, that coming up with the right question is very important. So thank you so much for sharing those views, Murli sir. My next question is to Bhamre sir. Bhamre sir, my question is kind of connected to what Murli sir has already mentioned about, but I'm asking this question to you because every year you work with hundreds of students, and you have worked with some of them right from the 4th grade till they have gone to college. So what do you think, or what has been your observation in terms of the pressure that many a times good students handle in terms from the teachers, from the parents, and what do you think, how does this really affect? Does it is it good to some extent in their performance, or does it hamper, or is it a combination of both? What do you think about this? Please share some thoughts.
It is really a difficult question, and being non-mathematical, I would like to add one thing first of all by giving 2-3 examples. And first, I would like to give some positive examples that what happens if we don't give pressure and liberty to student. One boy, he was with us, and then after ninth standard, his parents took decision to shift him in some different place for JEE preparation right from 10th standard. He got a mentor there also, and then already he cracked RMO in 8th standard and INMO in 9th standard. Then he got the place in our Indian team when he was in 10th standard, and when that was Olympiad in London. I think I forgot the year. I think 3-4 years back. Murli sir can tell when that I think before 2 years before lockdown. Then he came to my place to show the silver medal and all. Then I asked him that what you thought to do. Then he said that, sir, I already decided to go in IISc, either IISc or ISI or CMI. So these three choices are of with me. Then I asked him, you are in some commercial class. Then what about those class persons? Because they are focusing on your rank. Then he said that I firmly told them I am going to do this. I have three options. That's all. Now he is in IISc, I think second year or first year, and doing well, means obviously. But I also give some appreciation to his parents because they also followed him. Am I audible? Am I
Yes, sir.
audible, sir? Yeah, okay. So they also followed him. So this is one case that because of his mentor's decision also and his parents' decision and his firm decision. But his mentors or parents listen him because he showed some kind of consistency and also the deservance to act like that. Or otherwise, it may happen. Students say that I have to go over there. I have to go for, say, to pursue my CS from Princeton. But what are in terms of that preparations or focused way of work? If that work is observed, then I hope parents also will follow that son or daughter. But one thing, according to some age criteria, when students enter in adolescence, then I hope before adolescence, if we give them some freedom to ask the questions, not to answer the questions, to ask the questions, then they realize that I have ability to ask the questions, and from that I am getting much more. So there won't be any kind of means pressure from family. Then one part from school or other things, I may like to ask everyone, because almost every parent is from such 10 standard batch that in those days, I think we had algebra and geometry to separate, at least in Maharashtra. And whenever our any guest arrived at home, then we were kids. So they asked that, hey, in which standard you are? Then we say that I am in now standard 9. Oh, then you passed standard 8? I said, oh yes, I passed. Then the very obvious but first question is, how many marks you got in mathematics? So if we say that I got these and these marks, if marks are at par, oh, you got these marks, say the table of 29. That is a weak point. So table of 29, we couldn't. Then immediately to our mother that, see, your son, he got good marks, but he is unknown with table. What are you doing? Pay attention to him. So that was a what suggestion. If we say that, oh, I got only 60 marks, then further suggestions. I means it has I think two or three sides. Suppose the family members and that student is that much free to accept these incidents, okay. But after that guest means went to his home or her home, then immediately that ward would be harassed. Hey, you couldn't say the table of 29? Huh? It is insulting to me. Why didn't you do like this? So that is a pressure that we don't give. Another example I would like to give, you might have recalled that there was only one channel, DD National, when we were in school. And fortunately, I started taking tuitions as a part of my uh, so to get some good financial aid for pursue my education. So that times when I was writer, say 12th standard or FY, I had a good number of students. Then one boy, I am not going to disclose his name, but you may find he was really a genius. You tell him any number, bigger number, squaring, cubes, like we watched that in movie Shakuntala Devi. You tell any date, he could tell immediately the date, and then he could immediately tell the date. And his age was hardly 3 or 4 years. His parents brought that boy to me. I said that very nice, but remember, he is good at calculation. Naturally, he has very good sense. We can groom him in some different way. So let him study and go ahead in some kind of free way. But what happened, as he was called in Surbhi, you must be knowing that Surbhi, Siddharth Kak and Renuka Shahane were the hosts. And that was a very famous program that when that time comes, we immediately sat in front of the TV and who will be the guest in very eager, we watch that. I didn't watch because we didn't have any television. So fortunately, maybe. So uh, he was called in that Surbhi and he got a sudden fame. And then what happened? Because of that fame and all, the pressure of attending some lectures and all quite started. And so he just ran away from the study and he did his education just like we may say below IITs or NITs. And now he's doing job. He is talented, no worry. But his parents gave him pressure to attend this workshop, that workshop, go here, go there. And what happened? His childhood or maybe the next levels were not there. Many times we see that we expect for some kind of winning positions or maybe some kind of good marks. But I hope when a student tell me that, sir, unfortunately, I got second prize in this quiz competition, or I got such a so and so, and then prize, then say, oh sir, really I got, I am really upset. I said, no dear, don't be upset, because because of you somebody stood first. So because of you there is a person who stood first, and if you were securing the first position, then that boy is not that much having understanding like you. So that boy will cry more and trouble his parents, and his parents also will trouble. So it is very good. Then such students take it really at accepted and say that, okay, rank is not there. I prepared and I did. So if we give pressure, like we conduct some quiz competitions, Murli sir also knows that AMTI also conducts quiz competition, but it's okay. It is from in remote place, so parents are not present over there. But in Nasik, we conduct some quiz competitions at local level. Parents are sitting when that boy or girl answered, and then he looked in a parent's eye. If the answer is correct, yes. If answer is wrong, directly annoying. So that performance is reduced. And afterwards, no, 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 sir, you didn't give me 10 seconds. You that there is a partiality and all. And parents are giving the idea that there is a partiality. I had my stopwatch here, and showing that I have some kind of things and I have stopwatch. No, let them groom very much freely, and whatever they can do, let them do. When they will come in standard 10, also will get a college, and 95% also. But afterwards, if they lose these good hours, good days from their lifetime, then they can't groom themselves. In my childhood, so I am going to wind up the things that I just recalled one story, that in a small kingdom, that some beggars were sitting, and there was like some kind of distribution of sweets. So one boy, hardly of age, say 12 to 13 years old, he had to rush to get those sweets distributed by some rich person. But suddenly the king's elephant come in between his ways. So that boy got some kind of angriness, and he just took it up that push the elephant by just pulling the tail in one hand, and he could push the elephant back and then cross the road. The king saw the power, and then he thought, oh, this boy is very much powerful, bring him to me. So that boy came in front of the king. Then king said that, okay, I am going to give you so much stuff, and you have to work for me, and you have to win in front of the other kings. You have to pull the elephant like this only, and you have to show your abilities in front of all the kings. That one statement just fit in the mind of that boy. King gave him good training, good stuff, good kind of all big in our day-to-day life, that all protein supplements and all. The boy was like a healthy person, and in front of other kings the day came, and obviously you came to know that boy couldn't. Why? Because the king gave him a pressure when he was a beggar and hungry, because to get the sweets he had to rush, and he hadn't anything worry or any tension in his mind, so he could do that impossible easily because his goal was in front of him. So what I meant, students have some goal, or we can make them we can show them some different big goals, let them go naturally. If we give some pressure, then results are not better. So it's over. I think I talk too much. Vinay sir, you can
No, 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 no.
go ahead.
Thank you for that elaborate explanation and varied examples. I think it is these examples that makes things very clear. And when you were sharing, I myself could think about a couple of students I know very closely who are going through such similar situations. So on that note, Hari, would you like to share some thoughts on something connected with what Bhamre sir was talking about, that many a times when these bright kids they get that spotlight, and let's say that it's everywhere on the media, social media, and all these things, and they're just getting praises and all these recognition. What are the pros and cons of such a thing happening from the from the students, for the student? Is it really good, or is it not good, or what do you think? And how what do you think the child might be going through when they are in that particular spotlight?
Yeah, so I think Bhamre sir hit the nail on the head when it comes to, when it comes to performance and how they get the limelight and all. And it was also depressing to hear Bhamre sir's example about Surbi and DD1 being the only channel, because I know these things, so it makes me feel old. So on a lighter note, but having said about the limelight, I think we as parents should be aware that there are good things that can happen, but at the same time it can be dangerous as well. I really feel um, little bit discomfort with people who upload their videos, young kids uploading videos. It could be dance videos or singing videos or etc, because you get into that social comparison trap, and that happens a lot even with even with adults, so we cannot just blame the kids for being in that position. So I think parents have to play a very important role and make sure. And I have seen a lot of parents do this, right? Their kids are good at drawing or something, and then some guests come. They will say, "Oh, why don't you show your drawing to these people?" And then they expect praises. So what happens in that process is these kids then expect that every single time they do something, they want a praise, and if they don't get that praise, they get disappointed, because we have told them that anything they do is really good in some sense. So I think that's a very dangerous thing to feed into the kid's mind, and we do this very early on. We don't even do this at 6th grade, 7th grade. We do it at 1st grade itself, or even before that. And I think that's a very important thing that we keep in mind. When I started teaching, I was 18 years old when I started teaching, and I remember my professor told me a very important thing. He told me that you have to be very careful when you start teaching now, because the reason he said that, he made a very interesting comment. He said that when Lakshmi arrives, Saraswati takes a back seat. So he wanted to convey that when you will start getting money, you will not value education to that extent. He was right, but he missed one point, and that point was, how do I treat education? Do I treat education as an end in itself, or do I treat education as a means to achieve the end? For me, the education was an end in itself. It was not a means to achieve an end. That is, I was not interested in getting a job after clearing my CA. I was not interested in things. So the point is, knowing yourself or knowing your kid will help you a lot when you're taking such decisions. So it's okay to be in the limelight till the time you also feed your kid to understand that this is not what you are doing these things for. So this is not the end goal by which you're learning something. Your end goal is much bigger. I think because if you see sports personalities, they generally are in the limelight at an early stage of their life, but somehow they know how to handle it, because for them, just playing that sport is an end in itself. Rest all things are just an ancillary outcome of that. So if we can actually nurture that into the kid, then I think this won't be a big problem.
Thank you so much, Hari. I think this is one thing that I'm very sure all of us parents would be really really looking at that. How do you ensure that all these kids don't don't be under the pressure of performing always, if you are under the spotlight, or how to handle fame and all that. You put it very beautifully. Thank you so much. So my next question is to Muralidharan sir and Bhamre sir. You both have been working in the field of Olympiads since many decades, right? What do you think is the role of Olympiads in nurturing a talent? And do you see students who don't go through the Olympiad path, but still they or maybe they go through the Olympiad, but they don't get the kind of success that many others get in Olympiad, so to say. So they are not the star performers of Olympiad, but still they end up taking math or allied areas. That is one kind of students. Another kind of students is students who may not be taking the Olympiad path, and they still end up doing a lot of good math and pursuing math. So have you seen both the kind of students, or if I can just put it mathematically, is doing Olympiad a necessary or a sufficient condition for may come, taking a career in math? So what are your thoughts on it? Murli sir, Bhamre sir, you both can do, and we'll take, after this, I think we'll take questions from parents. So yeah.
Okay, can I go first?
Yes, sir.
See, actually, this Olympiads is really good in one sense that it just tells you that what mathematics is all about. It's about problem solving and so on. But of course, at least at an extremely high level and all those things. I have known several students who are very good in math and who have never taken an Olympiad, and then they also became first-rate first-class mathematicians. One is that one T.M. Soundararajan, the famous number theorist, and who is in Stanford. And then at a very young age, after 12th standard, he didn't take IIT JEE, and then even at that time, he was very good in number theory. And he wrote a couple of papers at that point in time. And then we went straight to Stanford with a full fellowship. So those kind of people are also existing. And on the other hand, there are students who aced the Olympiad and they also became good mathematicians. In fact, I can say 90 to 95% of the students who really did well in Olympiads eventually become academicians, meaning eventually become scientists or mathematicians, or they excel in one field or the other. So I can say that it is a sufficient condition, but not a necessary condition. But the thing is, what Hari said is the right thing in this case. So why you do Olympiad? It's not for the medal. It's not for the participating in INMO or RMO or IMO and all those things. If you just come to the Olympiad forum for the love of it, love of problem solving, love of learning mathematics, then you are on the right track. If you don't do that, if you say that my kid has to represent India in IMO, then that's not the correct. Then you are putting pressure on him. And then if he doesn't like that kind of math, then definitely he gets discouraged, and then he gets discouraged about everything in life after that. That's a big danger which is there. So I have seen students whose parents pushed them so hard that after some time they just gave up. And not only math, they gave up on everything. Okay, that's really a danger thing which parents should understand. So don't push a child. So actually, see, why do you send a child in the evening to play? So that they can enjoy, right? We should also send children to school to enjoy. See, not that to study and then earn a living and all those things. Education is what is left after you have forgotten whatever you have learned in the school. So if you can learn mathematics and then what is left, the kind of thought patterns which it imbibes in you, in meaning which it teaches you, is what is left for you to do research or meaning succeed in life. So please, my request to the parents is that don't put pressure. If the child loves it, let that be. If the child doesn't know that it doesn't love it, let that be also. It's not necessary to become successful in life at all. There are plenty of, in fact, I have never taken a Olympiad in my life. Okay, so in fact, probably I think at that time I didn't even know that this Olympiads existed and all those things. Like I've seen several students who have never taken Olympiads in life. And there are several students who took Olympiads and then they went to even International Mathematical Olympiad, represented India in Olympiad, and then they became very good scientists, and then they are living very happy lives. So that way, so it's not a necessary condition at all. But if somebody is very good in Olympiad, if they succeed in Olympiad, they eventually become successful as well. So that's all I can say.
Thank you, Murli sir. Bhamre sir.
In fact, Murli sir actually explained everything. So from my side, there are no more topics, but I would like to give you one example that in 2006, one boy who cleared RMO. In those days, pre-RMO was not there. RMO then INMO. And I think that time cutoff was of say 48 marks. Intentionally, I am telling you the cutoff because sometimes cutoff may come till 31, sometimes 68, 65. So he got, I think, more than that. And so he got when he was in standard 10. Afterwards, he means see, as we say that Olympiad means mathematics Olympiad, he was there. And then therefore, everybody was expecting that he would be as an engineer or IITs or whatever it be. His all classmates nearly that time had more than say 16, 17 students. So everybody got IIT except him. So those are all boys, and 4 or 5 girls. Among them, many opted for MBBS, and 2 opted for ICER. I think ICER Pune was just established. I can't recollect the year, but I hope in 2007 or 8, if I am not wrong. So that girl also got ICER, and so there was like a big thing. What now the Olympiad RMO qualifier, what will he do? Then he opted for medical, and now he is radiologist. Means how that Murli sir said that it is sufficient condition means what? He developed his logic. He developed his logic, and he is able to apply himself that logic to any subject. And then therefore, throughout the MBBS, he stood first. I think he completed from Mumbai, I think GM, and he served in Tata Cancer Hospital, and now he's in Manavta Curie in Nasik. It is famous, big hospital for cancer research and therapy center. He is their radiologist, and he is a good writer also. He writes very good poem and write-ups in Marathi. He just published his one book on the experiences based on what patient he treated, and he discussed with the parents. And whenever he meets me, he always tell me or recall these days that, sir, because of this mathematical thinking, I am here. So to prepare for Olympiads is nothing but to increase our thought process. That is quite important. Whether you are going to opt the same career or not is not a question. You are going to develop your thought process, some kind of constructive thinking, lateral thinking, and automatically positivity comes. Means here I may tell you that in this very bad patch, the thinkers are fresh. Why? Because their brains are in thinking process. So they don't have to say that I am positive. They are always in thinking. They do not worry about anything. And there are so many examples that we can put. And one more thing, that another part, whether you are Olympiad qualifier or not is not a question. How you are going to progress in your higher education, that is one part. And if like Hari also told that if you are just putting your end to get a good job, then I think that is very little thing to think to only get a job. So I think that one must follow knowledge, then job will come automatically. I said knowledge, not marks. And maybe fortunately, I am not having any degree in mathematics, so I enjoy mathematics more. Like if suppose I learned mathematics formally, then I could be like any normal person, that okay, I am BSc maths, I am MSc maths, so I know everything. So every day I know that I know nothing and I have to read. So that hunger also keeps. So if somebody is not a Olympiad qualifier, no worry, keep your hunger as it is. And also one thing is that if you are Olympiad qualifier, apply to your life. That is important. So I hope it is actually sufficient, not necessary always. But if Olympiad, then there are many more abilities inculcate in young minds. Yes. Now I think Vinay sir, you please go through some chat
Okay.
questions.
Yes, yes, I will.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bhambre sir and Murli sir. I think, Hari, I'm not asking you, but I think you echo on these thoughts because your students, your bright students in math have been from accounting and finance background. And I'm really not sure how many of them may have given the Olympiads back in school.
0.
In 1989, India started participating, and in that year, I passed standard 10, not more than 70% marks.
All right. So I think we'll open the forum to questions. Sindhu had messaged her battery is dying, so she put a question in the chat.
Okay.
One of the questions that came yesterday was the difference of math programs in IIT versus CMI. Would any of you, maybe Murli sir, would you be able to throw some light on that, or Bhamre sir?
Murli sir.
CMI programs are more research oriented because, in fact, Professor Madhavan Mukund, even in his inaugural talk in this program, he said that he wants their students to pursue academic careers and then push the knowledge to the next level and so on. So that means it is more research oriented, and then the people who teach there are all practicing mathematicians. So that program will be much more intense and then much more, what should I say, uh, uh, much more challenging for the students, because not everything will be taught. You know that actually I had to tell you this, and even though it's not a good thing to say, most of the research mathematicians are bad teachers. Okay, so because they say that because for them everything is obvious, they just put the theorem. Okay, obvious. Next theorem, obvious. Next theorem, you can do it easily. It's a computation like that. So you can't learn much from them, but you can learn much from the questions they ask. Okay, the kind of mathematics they expose you to. Okay, meaning from a different perspective and all those things. So that means learning from a research mathematician is challenging for a student, and I think the student has to do much more work than learning from a traditional school like IIT. So that's one thing. The second one is that if you learn in CMI, there is a 99% chance that you will become a mathematician, because you start to think like them, you start to behave like them, you start to act like them, and you want to be like them. So eventually, so that's what happens. It's almost like uh, somebody sort of what should I say, evangelize. They change you to their religion. So that's what happens when you go to research institutes like that. Just like in way back in TAFR also, it's the same. So when it start moving with people who are really top class mathematicians and so on, and of course they have their human side as well. They're very humble, and then they just are down here, and then they can talk to you over the coffee table. In fact, my first guide, Professor M.S. Narasimhan, who was really FRS and so on, he taught me to play bridge. And then we have partnered. I have partnered with him in one tournament. So that's the kind of thing they do, right? So you really love them, and then they really teach you a lot. So again, it's not a very structure-based class. It will be like you can sit in a corner in CMI and then start discussing and so on. So that's the kind of thing. So it'll be more fun to learn maths if you love math in CMI. IIT is a traditional MSc course, meaning it will be there'll be a syllabus, and then there will be class exams and all those things. Here, I don't know, the CMI also follows the same structure, but it will be totally different. Okay, so I would like, okay, if you love math, if you want to become a mathematician, CMI is the best option. If you want to learn math, and then if you want to pursue normal career outside math or in some other, or even in math, then probably I think IIT is a better bet.
Thank you so much, Murli sir. That one statement that you said, researchers, for them everything is obvious. Hari and I had a direct experience. In fact, Hari, I don't know whether if you remember, in IIT Madras, when we were attending that course on history of Indian mathematics, after the lecture we came out with some kind of proof for that, and then we were all very excited. We went to the faculty, and they were researchers obviously, and told them, okay, this is the is this a right proof for this particular problem? They say, oh, that's very obvious. What's the big deal about it? So yeah, I was just reminded of that. All right. So if anyone wants to ask a direct question, you can just do a raise hand
one
option.
question. Sorry to interrupt. There
Yes,
is one
sir.
question to Dr. Murli sir by Sindhu.
Yeah. I'm going in the order.
Yeah.
I'll take the sequence so that I don't miss out anything.
Okay,
If anybody wants,
as he is continuing, so I also want to listen that.
sure. Okay. Yes,
Sorry,
I'll
sorry.
just read out
Ah.
how to choose undergrad program, college based on the type of math, applied, theoretical, or does that come later? So that was a question. You know, should we go for an undergrad program, or should we go for, if I understand you correctly, Sindhu, should we go for applied or theoretical, or should we worry about that later? Anybody?
Yeah,
Hari?
I can talk about
Okay.
Hari only.
that. So I think when it comes to going for applied area or something, it all depends on the exposure. So if you're exposed to an applied area earlier, like it happened with Adityan, for example, Adityan was doing his undergraduation from CMI. He got exposed to economics, computer science, and that's how he could decide early on. But many students do not decide early on. It comes quite late. But it's easier to start from pure area and move to an applied area than to do vice versa. So I think it also answers one of the questions I think Medhaji asked. From applied to pure, it's a very hard transition. So if you're an engineer and then you want to transition into mathematics, it's hard. But if you're done, let's say pure mathematics, and you want to do economics later on, you can easily do that. There are examples. For example, Professor Avinash Dikshit, who is at Princeton, Vinay and some of our students actually met him when they went to a course on Princeton. He did his undergraduation in mathematics from the University of Mumbai, and then he later on did his PhD in economics. And in fact, his name always comes up for in the probable list of Nobel laureates who may get a Nobel Prize at some point of time. Of course, he's a Padma Vibhushan and all. But I think it all depends on the exposure. But it's always good to start with pure and then dive into the applied areas.
Thank you, Hari, for that. Yes, and was curious to know how Dr. Muralidharan find working in the corporate world, being an academician at heart, and what did he enjoy in the corporate world versus academia?
The corporate world is good in the sense that they respect your talent. In fact, I was always in research, even though I was in corporate, I was in research. Initially, I was into statistical modeling, and after that, I was into algorithms and all these things. And they respect you, and then of course, it's a well-paying profession as well, particularly the IT. But the thing is, the corporate world is much more challenging in one sense. See, if you're in the academia, you can choose your problem which you want to work on, but in corporate, it is not that. So you have to work on a problem which the customer of the company is interested in. So that is one thing. You can't say that this problem is dumb and then I don't think I can work on this and so on. That you cannot say. Of course, also you need a lot of interpersonal skills to work in the corporate because the egos are pretty high, and then it's very difficult to move around. In the academic, you can be a recluse, and then you can be very harsh to people, and then you can say that you are an idiot and all those things. Still, you can get away with all those things. But there, it's not the case. Even if you want to say that that CEO is an idiot, you have to say it in a very professional way and a polished way. So those things, those skills, you have to learn. And I don't know, I was successful corporate wise, of course, because I had because of my talent, even though I made a lot of blunders in terms of interpersonal relationships, I survived somehow. Okay, so that's one of the major differences. One is that you can't work on a problem which you love, and the other is that you have to have lots of interpersonal skills. So those are the two things which mark the difference between the corporate and the academic.
Thank you so much, Murli sir. There is a question that came in the chat. How difficult is it to get into CMI? With your permission, can I just answer that question? So getting into CMI, usually students who prepare for the Olympiads, they automatically get prepared for the kind of CMI entrance, and then they also go through previous year's question papers, but they know the basic topics, and I think some topics are from 11th and 12th standard math as well. But when you say how difficult it is, it's a really relative question. It depends on difficult for what kind of student, right? So Sundar, our TA for Brahmagupta batch, and Adityan, one of the who took one of the sessions for the students. Both of them, they had given Olympiads. In fact, Sundar never cleared the regional mathematics Olympiad, but he got into CMI. He got into a program with full scholarship to Princeton. He was one of the best that we had seen, from a very young age. But he never managed to clear RMO. So but he had prepared really well for RMO, and that's how he could get through. And the reason I'm saying his name is because, and to this question, how difficult is it to get into CMI? And I think there should be a continuing question that how difficult is it to get through the entire course as well. Because it's not just getting into a particular college, but how do you equip yourself? So what I understood from Sundar and some of his friends was that the more students got introduced to abstract algebra in 11th and 12th standard, and the more they understood that, oh, this is the kind of math that I want to do. And when they went to CMI after that, it was a really enjoyable experience. Having said that, they have also seen some students who have done really well in Olympiads, but then they did not enjoy some of these courses on abstract algebra because they just wanted to solve problems and they hadn't seen this kind of math. So I think getting difficult to get into CMI or any college, good college, but how do you survive through is also important. I think there are a couple of questions which are kind of related. I'll just read it out. Everybody is saying about coding and programming and put kids in 6th grade onwards, saying that it's been advertised essential. Is it truly essential even for math students? Will they lose out if they are not programming savvy in their teens? So again, is it a necessary condition for being, getting into math?
So since I am from IT, probably I think I can answer the question. See, programming is nice and very challenging. And if you can learn programming, it always enhances your algorithmic skills and all those things. I would recommend learning coding for every student. See, previously it used to be reading, writing, and arithmetic. Currently, it is reading, writing, and coding. So that's the kind of things you have come to, and it's very helpful also. In fact, recently I wrote a paper on in the Blackboard where we have explained how technology-assisted exploration in mathematics can happen. That is, we took a problem. In fact, there was a 2019 Olympiad INMO problem where the question was asked to prove something for n is equal to 11. But then we saw that n is equal to 6 itself is possible. Then we searched for a counter example for n is equal to 5 using the computer, and it didn't produce any. Then we thought that we could prove it for n is equal to 5. Then we searched for counter example for n is equal to 4. Still we didn't find any. Then we proved it for 4. Then we searched for 3. Then also we didn't find. And somebody came up with a 2-line proof for 3. Okay, so we started somewhere around for 11, and then it's so obvious proof for 3 which is missed all along. So if we have not used the computer to search for counter examples, we would have never hit the idea that n is equal to 3 is possible. So we need to know coding. In fact, if you know coding, definitely it helps you with your math to do some experimentation, particularly if it is a number theory and all those things. In fact, when I was in TAF, there was a graph theorist, and then who wanted to check some conjecture. And I wrote the code for testing that conjecture, and then found that there is no counter example up to about 10,000 vertices and so on. And then he could prove it for after he knows that there is no counter example for smaller cases, then he could come up with an argument that it's definitely true. So that way you can definitely learning coding and having a knowledge of computer programming always enhances your mathematical skills. I would strongly recommend learning coding for everybody. In fact, these days, even doctors who, if they know coding and so on, they can do a better job of fitting models and all those things. So that way, it's definitely required, and I would strongly go for coding.
Sir, a question in continuation to that. When you say learning coding, there are so many courses which are offered. I mean, right from White Hat Junior to Coursera, we see so many courses on coding. So, is there any recommendation that you have? And courses that you would strictly say, no, don't take these kind of courses? And
What you need is, see, actually coding, when I say coding, don't get me wrong, it is like a language. Okay. It's not that you know 10 languages, you know 10 different ideas. So how to, if you don't have an idea, learning 10 languages is totally useless. So what you need to know is that how many algorithms you learn. Coding means I meant that how many algorithms you learn. So actually algorithm world is totally different from mathematical world. See, in mathematics, you just do a precise computation. In algorithms, you need something else. In fact, there is something called the famous algorithm called the backtracking, right? That you won't find in math, but it's a very interesting technique like that. Okay, or there's something called dynamic programming, which helps you to solve lots of problems. And then that is that is not in math, but it is purely in coding, and then that helps you to solve some good problems in computer science. So in fact, computer science is very hard. It's harder than mathematics. Okay, so don't have the impression that programming is easy. It's not. But you can learn just one language like Python, for instance. That is enough. Or any one language is enough, where you can experiment and where you can test your conjectures and all those things. That's all is required. But you know one language and you need to know lots of algorithms. So that's where the crux is. So the algorithm part is the 90% part in the entire programming course, and then the 10% part is the language part. That's all. So it's learning the language, is learning the grammar is one thing, but saying, writing poetry with that grammar is what is the ideas about. So if you know the algorithms, you write poetry there. But if you don't know algorithms, you just write bad prose. That's all.
okay, so in connection to that, Hari, I think before you went for your PhD course, did you know programming?
No, unfortunately, I did not. But would it have helped? Tremendously, tremendously. I think I have been making this point for the last 10 years to my students now, that, as Murli sir mentioned, that how reading and math used to be the core skills that we focus on and in school. Now it's also coding to that extent. But I completely it was very, very nice to hear what Murli sir said of how to approach uh, coding. And there are a lot of problems that get, it's easier to do, like with whatever I am doing with data. When you have large steps of data, I don't do algorithms, but even for me, doing some level of coding, like getting the data from different sources, it helps a lot.
Okay. Yes. So yeah. Okay. So there was a question that had come up yesterday. Murli sir, you are not there. Bhamre sir, you are also not there. And maybe we can repeat that question. Can you provide a comparison between IMSC, ISI, and CMI, and what might be the other options in India for math? I assume that question was for math, apart from CMI in India.
Yeah, ISC and ISI are also good places for math. And of course, if you already have post graduation, you can try TAFR and Bombay University research programs and so on. So if you want to be a research mathematician, there are plenty of opportunities. Of course, CMI and ISI, ISC, they all top the list, meaning that's for the elite, meaning the really talented ones and all those things. But if you really want to get a PhD and then move on in life with some other thing, you can take any other university also, any other university PhD programs. In the PhD programs, the main thing is that who your guide is, okay, and then what that person is working on. And if that person is working on the cutting edge research, then you stand to gain. Okay, or if you want, you can try some places abroad as well, and there are lots of places where you can try in the US or UK or even in Australia. So there also we can try and then do that. Some of my friends have gone to US, UCLA, for instance. Now they are really doing very well as a researcher. So it's not that only CMI, but actually again, don't put all the eggs in the same basket. Meaning CMI may be difficult to get in, and you can try. I'm not saying that the ISA is one level below that. Probably I think ISA everything is on par, but the PhD program 100% depends on the guide you get and what that person is working on and how great a mathematician that person is. That's where the whole thing lies on, and whether he is willing to take it or he or she is willing to take it. So that's the whole thing. It's not the place, it's the person that's important in this case.
Thank you, Murli sir. There is another question. How much of positive and encouraging push should the parents pursue, especially if the child does not display a self-drive, but definitely has the potential and enjoys the subject? To what extent can we push? Any of you can.
See,
May
if
I
you,
talk here?
let's say, let's look at it this way. Suppose if you are good in music, okay, and then if you want to teach your child music, what do? Right? We just create an environment in which the child can learn, right? So the encouragement or push we can do is that we create the opportunities for the child to enjoy mathematics, either through recreational mathematics or through formal programs. Or these days there are plenty of books available and there are plenty of programs available on the YouTube, and then expose them to some of them. Okay, there are plenty of things which can be taught to them, and see whether they take an interest in that. So that's how. So if they are not willing to do, meaning many students may not even know that they would love math. Okay, so you just have to expose them. It's like, for instance, if somebody doesn't want to play cricket, you can't make them play cricket at all. So same way, you just have to give an exposure to the beauty of mathematics. In fact, that's what I tell most of the teacher conferences. See, the only aim of the teacher is to sell the beauty. We are all salesmen. The only aim is to sell the beauty of our subject. And unless once you sold the beauty of the subject and then the students is convinced, and then we don't have to teach them at all. They will learn on their own. So create an environment and then don't push. Create an environment in which they can see what they like. Whether it is mathematics or physics or chemistry or music or anything, even cooking, for instance. Create the environment and then make it sure that it is fun, it is beautiful, and then it is enjoyable. Then they will love and then they will fall into it.
Thank you so much, Murli sir. Bhamre sir, you wanted to say something on this?
Dr. Murli covered almost every. Just I want to say because I have always communicated many parents. Then they have always such question that how to inculcate such kind of things. But what I think that when the child is of say below 12 years old, then we immediately can't get that where is he. Very rarer cases are there what we can say that okay, he is doing like that. And another thing is what I can say, uh, if a boy, suppose I want to put him in mathematics or say problem solving or maybe like this, then that I want, means as a parent I want. What does the child want, that also to be observed first. And our aim means parents have to just watch what is he doing as he wants that, and we are allowed him to do whether he is doing that at par or not. If not, then we can just questionize him that dear, that was your wish, and what was the question or problem that you just gave up that. Then after listening to him, we have to think why did he answer like this, what hurdles he faced, and accordingly we can change our road or path to lead him or her. So that is what like I would like to say, not necessarily mathematics only. And another thing that Vinay sir, without your permission only, I may go ahead, that somebody put that how to inculcate the consistency. So like consistency can be there when they enjoy them, enjoy the study, then only consistency will come. Or otherwise, I had given this sheet of 10 problems you have to solve. Okay, I completed. So I completed. My work is over. If the boy is doing like this, it means that he is doing his duty, but he's not enjoying his work. So actually our aim is to provoke them to enjoy, that they have to the enjoyment, And in such age, they should enjoy. And after enjoyment, we can means if suppose they are enjoying and they have gone through many questions and also stuff, then we can proceed them for the seriousness towards the studies. They should enjoy. And if they are not enjoying, then we can increase that thing by giving them some small activities. And in earlier also I actually told that how much free time that boy or girl is getting, that has a means a major question. If they are not getting a free time, then how can they think freely? Because they have time to do study, for this is your study hours. If we bind them, this is your study hours, then consistency won't come. And I think that parents have to I means be their friend like, so that they will share that I enjoyed this a lot and all, and I have to go ahead. Like I am not praising anyone, but just Vinay shared me one thing in afternoon, that Shriram also attending Sridhar batch, and he told that yesterday night at 1 till 1:30 he was solving the problems, and he
10:30,
forced
10:30.
10:30, okay, 10:30. Afterwards he forcefully told him that you have to sleep because tomorrow you have to work more. Then what did he say? No, no, I have to finish it up because I like this question or I have to solve this. Unless I get the solution, I have to work. So this is what a passion. So like what I say, uh, in music, we generally say that Ustad Zakir Hussain or say Pandit Ravi Shankar or Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Subba Lakshmi, such legendaries are really God gifted. Means others are not God gifted. Say Pandit Yogesh Samsi, Anindo Chatterjee, Kumar Bose, they are very legendary tabla player. They are also God gifted, but partially. But because of their consistent riyaz, they reach at that destination. Remember very well. So consistency to be increased gradually. It can't be immediately put. It is not a thing that this is the thing you put in your pocket and so you are going to get it. No, it is a slow process. It's a slow process. Means fortunately I got such some legendary persons, and I did some riyaz under them. Because of them, I am able to sit 9 to 10 hours at one place doing the work of brain, because they inculcated that in us. But how? Gradually. At very first day, they didn't ask me to sit for 4 hours or 5 hours. Then I could be run out from that. Oh, this is horrible to sit at one place. Really dangerous. So what I feel, these are young chaps, and they have really nice time, and let them free more, and let them enjoy the studies, besides giving them the timetable that this is time and this is time and this is time you have to do this. So that is not a process, and after some days, years maybe, after 2 3 years, then I hope that you will find very different and better results. Yeah, there are some questions, Vinay sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhamre sir. In fact, when you were saying this, I was reminded of a student who, at some particular, he was very passionate about tabla as well as mathematics.
Yeah.
And his parents wanted him to pursue tabla more seriously. And he had the talent, he still has the talent. But for him, tabla was just a hobby. It was not a passion. Whenever he feels like playing tabla, he'll play tabla. Right? He has the talent, but I think ultimately it's the child's wish what they want to do, and we cannot force it beyond a particular point. And at some point he had even stopped doing mathematics, but then he came back because that was his passion, his calling, and then he pursued doing that without any push or things like that. So I think when we look back in our own lives, we might see that we were very good at some particular instance, some particular thing at some point in our life, but then we stopped doing that, and maybe we did not continue. So I think that uh, you know we cannot push beyond a point. Yeah. All right. So,
And
Raghav,
one
yes.
one thing, if I may add,
Yeah, sure.
one of the ways in which parents can identify whether your kid is just completing the duty, as Bhas sir said, or whether is really passionate, could be that one of the many ways could be, if you give a problem to solve to the kid, does the kid go beyond solving that problem? That is, does he or she think about, okay, what will happen if I change this parameter in the problem, or can I come up with a different proof for the same problem? I think that's how you can see how passionate your son or daughter is. For example, I think there are more than 300 proofs of Pythagoras theorem. I'm not saying that every student should try to learn all those 300, but does your kid actually stop after proving it one way, or does he actually think, okay, let me try if there are other ways of doing it, or what will happen if I change something in the problem? I think that will help you understand how passionate the kid is.
Thank you, Hari. That was just icing on the cake. uh, Raghav's mother.
Hello. With us, our concern is that Raghav is all the time focusing on the most difficult problems. Even if he gets a paper, he'll see only what he's never solved, or what if there's something new. And in the competitive world, he's not at all competitive. So where will he stand eventually is our thing. He knows maths, and we are like, such easy, simple problems also he will leave out, or he'll not complete the paper. And when the result comes, I'm like, Raghav, what happened? Mama, no, I solved that, the difficult ones. So why are you focusing on the simple ones? So we feel, will it take him in the long, where will it take him in the long run?
In fact, many of you may not know that about 40 years ago, in many of the universities, there used to be a MSc honors, meaning BSc honors course. The syllabus is the same, the question paper is the same, but the question paper will contain two parts, part A and part B. Part A will contain only one question, and part B will contain 10 questions. So you can attempt 7 out of 10 in part B and then get BSc degree. And you can attempt the first one question in part A and get BSc honors degree. Okay, so that question was so tough that nobody would really dare to do it in an exam hall. And I know several people who did that and then got the BSc honors degree. That honors is basically that. That is, they are really original problem solvers. Of course, your son will fit in that kind of environment, but probably I think not in the usual thing. But the thing is that you should be taught that at least from exam point of view, you really need that. Meaning you got to concentrate on simple problems as well. In fact, I am teaching a student in the US who is exactly like this. Meaning he doesn't care to, even in competitions, he doesn't care to solve simple problems, which he knows that is pretty trivial for him. But he tries the hard problems, and sometimes the as unfortunate things go, and he couldn't solve them, and so he loses them. So anyway, we are trying to mentor him and then bring him to the right track. But the thing is, you don't have to discourage this habit. It is good because he always goes for the toughest ones. In fact, I forgot that there's a Tirukural which says that instead of going for a rabbit hunt, go for an elephant hunt. See, in the rabbit hunt, if you miss, nothing happens. If you miss the elephant hunt, what happens? The elephant comes after you. And then that's the end of story. Right? So that's the problem. So you have to really, if you are very courageous, you're very valor, then you have to go for the elephant hunt. And that's what he's doing. It's good. And then, of course, you just have to sort of counsel him on the needs of everyday life. So really have to do that. That's
Okay, thank you.
If I may add something from a personal experience, when I was in school for English and Hindi exams, I used to start from the back side of the question paper. That is where all the essays and letter writing, all these things, and I really enjoyed doing that. And I would write some 4 or 5 page essays, and end up losing marks for the fill in the blanks, match the following, and all those things. But it never made me disappointed at for getting less marks. I used to enjoy, okay, my essay marks is better than somebody else's essay marks, and so on and so forth. But on a serious note, how it really helped me later on was that I could see that I had some kind of liking towards writing. And once that was identified, I could leverage on that particular. I knew that this was one of my strengths, and with which I could do something in a better way. So I think this that you have identified can be something that you can leverage on. How to do that? Maybe you may not get an idea right now, but then at least you can keep this at the back of your mind and know that, okay, he is this kind of personality, and at some particular point of time, I think it'll get connected. So yeah, that's just from my experience. So I think we have taken all the questions that came up. All right, so on that note, shall we end the session here? All right, Sindhu, are you back? Is your connection good? I guess not. Okay. So let me just thank our three faculties for sharing all these wonderful experiences, and all the parents for joining for this program, for this particular session. And I think what Murli sir and Hari and Bhamre sir have shared, I think they are very useful insights. In fact, if we just look into the synopsis of all these things, like building grit and perseverance, and how do you nurture talent, the importance of that, and how do you deal with pressure, how do you deal with things which subjects that you don't like. I think all these are really very useful for all the parents, including me, who are attending the session. So thank you so much, Hari, Murli sir, and Bhamre sir, for sharing these beautiful thoughts. Looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye to all. Yeah.